Good evening, and just to wrap up of that council meeting for Monday, April 13th, 2015, just wanted to go over quickly some of the presentations and proclamations that we went through this afternoon. I think it's very important because it's a follow-through of the never-ending progress and saga that we've had in the fire department. That is, people get a little older, some retire, some come in, but it speaks highly of the organization and the volunteer staff that we have there. Tonight, Fire Chief Mike Lebo was able to pin new fire captain Travis Cole. And Travis also works for the city of Grand Rapids, so he's wearing a dual hat. He's volunteering on the fire department as he does his city work, and he's a great city employee, and he's going to make a great fire captain with the fire department. Next, we went into some awards for MEDS 1. We'd done some training through the city, and it's hours, I think, Deputy Chief Shar had commented that it's probably between 40 and 50 hours of training on EMS and how we can better train our officers to be respondent and respond to medical emergencies along with the EMS staff that we have in town here. And there was 4 awards that were presented to members of the EMS in Grand Rapids, and I think that once again it speaks highly of the criteria and the qualifications that we have out in that department as well. Even though it's not a part of the city, MEDS 1 does a great job of providing services in the Grand Rapids and the surrounding area. Frank Scherf, former police officer with the city of Grand Rapids, was in. He's working for the state of Minnesota, and he's working on a program that deals with towards 0 deaths. And what they do is they take a look at 4 critical areas, which is education, EMS, engineering, and enforcement, trying to bring them numbers down out in the state as a whole. And from at one point in time, we had 655 traffic deaths as a result of accidents, down to in 2012 we were at 395. So they're having a significant impact on what's happening out there with fatalities and trying to educate. I think any of us on a daily basis could see somebody as we're driving around that's on a cell phone. They're either talking or perhaps they're texting, and it's dangerous, and it could result in your eyes being away from the road or from what's happening. And we've seen those commercials, how quickly a car moving at 30 miles an hour or faster can travel and put you in a position that you may have a regret for the rest of your life as a result of an accident that you caused or happened to be in. So we were awarded a new radar, so we will be using that in the PD under the enforcement side. Sometimes, as Frank said, the best thing you can do for a person is the ticket that they get that brings them back to focus on the reality of what they're doing and should be focusing on as they are behind the wheel. We welcomed Councilmember Blake this evening. Rick is replacing Councilmember Toivonen, who took an opportunity to take a job out of the area. And we did the swearing-in ceremony at 4 o'clock, and Rick now is an official member of the council. And as you saw, if you happen to see a replay or if you saw live, the presentation is already an active member of the community, but now he's an active member of the council as well. Just wanted to touch on a few things from the meeting. We're going to, at the Civic Center, Park and Rec, Dale Anderson was in. We're going to be spending some money up in the Reamer to Shepherd area, creating a new park up in there, about $35,000 going to game time equipment of Minnesota and Wisconsin playgrounds, about $27,000 there, and then another $8,000 of the $35,000 going to into the fencing around there. We did an interesting thing under engineering at the airport. The city and the county co-own the Grand Rapids Airport, and we get FAA money that comes in on an annual basis. And some years you have projects and other years you don't. Well, you only have the ability to hold on to your FAA funding for 4 years. We're in a partnering agreement right now where we agreed to a partnering agreement with the City of International Falls, whereas we would take some funds of theirs for 2015. In return, we would give those funds back to them in 2016 as they prepare for a project up there that will need that funding. And we can use that money now and it's just one way that communities and airports can better coordinate the activities that they have in order to complete some major projects and not lose the funding that they need in order for those projects to be completed. We're also going to be doing some limited tree removal out there because of the runway situation and the crosswinds runways. You have to have non-impaired flight paths coming in and going out, so there's going to be a need to do some spot tree removal in order to come into compliance. I think we're looking at a total of 20 to 30 trees possibly, and we're going to be using SEH to go out and identify those trees. We don't want to overcut trees, so it's better to have somebody come in and personally identify, so that the contractor then that's going to do the tree removal will have easily identified trees, and then we can continue to have that buffer around the airport from a tree standpoint. Bob Cahill at the golf course came in with a new way that people can pay for season passes out there instead of coming up with the funds all at once, which can be a huge impact on a family. If you're looking at a family that everyone in the family golfs, you'd think that it's a relatively inexpensive hobby as a family to go into, less than $1,000. But if it's $1,000 that's coming out of your pocket all at once, it can have a huge impact on a family. So we're going to now allow that you can do it on a monthly payment basis, so you can take that charge and you can spread it out. For this year, you can spread it out over the remainder of the year, and then if it's successful, we will look at next year at looking at after the first of the year. You could take a look at the pass rate, spread it out over 12 months, and then be able to better afford that opportunity to go out and golf as a family or an individual. We hired a new, or are in the process of hiring new labor and employment legal services. Abrams and Schmidt LLC has a new contract with us that's going to run through 2018 with the option of a 2-year extension. So we welcome them on board. We're continuing the process. We're finding it's not as easy as we had initially thought. Ron Edminster had worked for the city for well over 20 years as a facilities maintenance manager, and as we look at filling that position, we're trying to get some type of a hybrid that can cross-train, cross-work with other departments, and it's not as easy as we had initially thought it was to find people with those qualifications. So we're continuing down that path, looking at what and how we can fill that position. Fortunately for the city of Grand Rapids, as Ron Edminster is in a phased retirement, in that he is still coming in and doing as needed work for the city. He's been gracious enough to do that on a phased retirement plan. We had a public hearing tonight looking at an amended restated business subsidy policy. It hadn't been looked at for a while, so we went and through the public hearing. There was no community input on that, so it went through as presented by Rob out of our city staff, and we will move forward with that. We paid the bills, and we look forward to seeing and hearing everyone in 2 weeks. But in the meantime, the weather's going to be nice the rest of this week. Please get out and start enjoying what we all live for as a great spring. And please do things carefully. Remember that if you're working, you're out in your yard, that spread it out over periods of time. Save your back, and hope everyone does take that opportunity to get out. We'll see more and more people off and on here now, walking and biking and rollerblading and hiking, using the trails and stuff. Please be careful out there when you see people on the road. Remember that pedestrians have a right to be there, and try to be observant of bikers and walkers and hikers around the city, so that we do not have any statistics of someone getting hit. So with that, have a good night, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.